Hello, race fans. Welcome back to Freaky Fast Broadcasting as we're back here on this wonderful Sunday night for Season 10, Race 12 of the Sim Racing Unleashed Cup Series here at the Talladega Super Speedway for the Hillsboro Feed Company 250. What a race we have for you in store here tonight. It's going to get very, very spicy, as I like to say up here in the booth. It's Talladega. It's always a fun one. As we just seen last night, some wild action here on Freaky Fast at Talladega. We're bringing it back here tonight, but with the next gen car. So we're going to see a little bit of the future here, possibly also. So make sure you stay tuned in for that. But let's give a special shout out to the sponsor here at SRU, who helps make it all happen here, and that is Budget Sim Boxes. If you're a sim racer on a budget looking for a button box, then Budget Sim Boxes is your source. With several different sizes and functionality options, Budget Sim Boxes will have the button box that fits your price range without breaking the bank. Budget Sim Boxes is your source of high quality button boxes at an affordable price. Find them on Facebook by searching Budget Sim Boxes or look for them in the Facebook iRacing flea market. So thank you to Budget Sim Boxes for helping out here at the Sim Racing Unleashed Cup Series. They always are a great sponsor. And we also want to shout out our sponsors here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting of ButtKicker. Make sure you head on to their website over there at ButtKicker.com. You can use our promo code FreakyFast20 to get 20% off of any purchase there of a ButtKicker product. Next, we have Makoni Setup Shop. Got to make sure you head on over there if you want to get the best setups in all of iRacing there from the Richmond Raceway Esports team. Remember, that's MakoniSetupShop.com, and you can head on over there and use FFB10 to get 10% off of any purchase there of a setup. So make sure you head on over there, get 10% off a setup, and you could be out there in victory lane in one of these iRacing open official races. So go out there and check them out. And we also have a giveaway going on with the Makoni Setup Shop for a coaching lesson. So make sure you check out the link for that giveaway in our chat, and you could be winning that coaching lesson yourself. But again, thank you to all these sponsors here tonight. I am Zach Hall up in the booth. Joined alongside me is Sam Dyer, as we have Robert Moyer Jr. as always in the production box. Sam, back here at SRU for the next gen cup car here at Talladega. We seen Talladega last night in the older generation cup car. Now we get to see the future. I expect to see a little bit of the same though.
Yeah, last night for the NAISCC Cup Series, it was, I think Robert said it first, a little bit spicy with 20 laps to go during that race, and it turned into a complete inferno, and it just got really hot as the run just continued to go on, and we're kind of expecting something similar here tonight for SRU. But the driver that won last night, that of Mark Whitley, he's back to try to win 2 Talladega races in a row. And Zach, it's looking pretty promising with the way that this package looked like back at Daytona. So what we've been seeing during practice, these drivers are going to have a handful, but they got plenty of space to try to duke it out.
Yeah, this track gives you a lot of options to duke it out. Like you said there, Sam, is now the practice is going to come to, and we're going to head off into qualifying. I think qualifying is going to be very important. I think last night you see in that race, getting track position, staying out front, especially if you have teamwork. That's going to be one key thing. We were talking about a little bit in the pre-race chat. Smoke Inc., those guys at the tracks that you have to draft, use the teamwork to really position yourself. They've really shown strength, and Hunter Hayward winning at Daytona is just to back that up. I would not be surprised if we see, teammates get the victory lane and possibly be the team of Smoke Inc.
Yeah, Smoking has been, it doesn't even matter for a normal super speedway track like Daytona or Talladega. With the way that this next gen car works, even at mile and a half courses, the draft package is so strong that it's practically like drafting there, and we've seen Smoking work quite well with one another. On board with the 81 is Steven Stympian, probably one of the hottest drivers in the last 4 weeks, having 2 wins back at Darlington and then last week at Richmond. This 81 team has been finding the speed here lately, and it's been a great charge for them to move up in the points just gradually for this 81 team. But Zach, it's going to be a full team effort like we've been saying throughout the whole entire night. But qualifying, these times are going to be so important to make sure you are in the best track position to start out this race.
Yeah, and qualifying here is, you think it'd be easy, just hold the gas down, turn the wheel left. It's not. It's actually a little bit of an art to it. You got to not scrub the speed. And what I mean by scrub the speed is your steering wheel. If you turn that wheel too far to the left, you're turning your front tires too far, and they are scrubbing speed, and that is friction that you're building up taking away mile an hour as you go down these straightaways. It's all about being very light in that wheel and very smooth. The smoothest driver out here will put down the fastest time and start out front.
Yeah, and on screen we're seeing Stimpian. He's running the middle to low line on his first lap, which, for some drivers, there's kind of a preference. For some, their goals stay as high as possible against the wall their whole entire first lap. Others, it's, I'll run a little bit higher, but that second lap is where everyone's key is on how fast you can really put down these times when you finally are built up completely on speed. And you see the 81 drop down low. Goal, stay on that yellow line. And like you said, Zach, stay smooth as Steven Stimpian, top of the board for that first lap.
Yeah, very interesting to see him in the middle groove and some of the lower groove coming to the second lap here. So, normally we stay up against the wall. It could be a little bit different in this next gen car too. It could get up to speed a little bit quicker. Maybe that lap time comes differently. It's a tough situation there because I really don't have the experience here with this car. But just from last night, I talked to Mark Whitley, our points leader here in the series, as he raced last night. He said the differences between the cars they're pretty similar. He feels like with the draft package, but he feels like the side draft is much more powerful, and at least from what I've seen also in practice, seems like this car a little bit faster also with the lap times they're generating, especially even in qualifying, much faster times.
Well, based on all the drivers putting down times, with no surprise, the man who's also been absolutely crushing it with wins, tied with Mark Whitley with the most wins, Hunter Hayward, top of the board currently, is riding and watching the 53 of Dave Bush, just riding around here at Talladega. And, touching on the fact of looking at some of these drivers, Mark Whitley, one of those drivers that won last night. And if it's looking like the packages are going to be similar to the current Cup cars to the next gens, that means we're expecting a lot of single file racing and drivers having to work with one another, if not having more than 3, sometimes even more than 4 cars in line if you want to make either the outside or the inside lane move.
Yeah, it's really interesting the way it works with that. I've seen it the outside line work, but you got to have a lot of help. It's all about numbers when it comes to this. And like you said, if you got a group of 3 or 4 up front that are kind of committed to each other, they are tough to beat. Trust me, it's very tough to do. And really, even this race is so important. This is 4 races to go in this season. We got Talladega, Kentucky, Homestead, and Dover right now, and we've got word that Mark Whitley he's going to do a start and park at Dover. So if these drivers want to have a shot at a championship right now, they need to make up points in these next 3 races to have the best shot going into Dover, to be within distance to maybe have a shot at that championship, because Mark is going to have the unfortunate thing that he's not going to be able to make that race and get full points like he would normally. So we'll have to see how that shakes things up, man. It kind of throws a whole thing into this. Michael Yar 37 points back in second. He's the closest, but Leffler, Hayward, and Delph, they're not far behind, and even got Stimpian. I believe he's somewhere in the 60 points range. So it's really, really close, especially with Mark missing that last race.
Yeah, especially as we are going to step aside. Qualifying's done. When we come back, the starting grid in Talladega here for the SRU. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Sim Racing Unleashed Cup Series here at Talladega for the Hillsboro Feed Company 250. As the drivers rocketing around this course, it is a green coming to lap 3 as drivers in line already single file out. It's Hunter Hayward, Dave Bush, and Brad Delph, Stephen Leffler, as well as Keith Roebuck, going to be your top 5. My name is Sam Dyer. With me is Zach Hall as Robert Moyer running production. Zach, we kind of touched on the fact that both of the pack aero packages for the current gen and the next gen were pretty similar. Well, we're seeing similar racing from last night. Single filed out, and the patience is now kicked in.
Yeah, it was definitely interesting. I was out there last night, so I had a different perspective. Didn't really know what was going on behind me, but this is, I would imagine, what was happening at the beginning. Everybody right now is just not trying to risk going outside. They're trying to ride, stay safe, especially no fast repair. Last night a bunch of guys had fast repairs. Tonight we have no fast repairs. You get in one wreck with this car, you are going to be hurt for speed all night long. Especially we've seen how mega it's been to get damage on these cars. It sets you back so far. If you get a little crinkle on your fender, you're going to have to be hoping that you're going to be doing the following, not the leading, because there's going to be a lot of drag on that race car.
Yeah, I mean, damage, especially so at super speedway, any type of aero damage of a ding here or there is going to hurt you. Even with or without the damage, if you have some type of issue, it's going to cost you in speed. But especially, like you said, like we've seen with these next-gen cars, even at the mile-and-a-half courses, if you get a little bit of damage, it just seems like you cannot make any movement forward. And even when we're at short tracks, just a little bit of damage hurts you. And it's kind of different from what we've seen from the current gen and even the gens before that, where running at short tracks, get a little bit of damage, you're feeling all right about yourself. But right now, drivers in line, we got 22 drivers that are running, and everyone's pretty much in this lead group, except for our back 3, that of Jason Adams, also Kevin Roy, and Mark Kosick, who's going to be back all in his lonesome. Already seen a major loss at 33. Better hope for caution quick. Otherwise, he's going to be going a lap down almost immediately.
Yeah, you just go so much slower by yourself, and you got to see he's almost a full straightaway behind our leader. So Mark really needing to hope for a caution, like you said there, because it won't take long. It'll be about, I'd say, 10 laps at most probably before they get back around to him, just due to the pace difference there, man. But unfortunate for him, one thing I looked at really is that outside line just went nowhere on the restart. I mean, Dave Bush, luckily he had his teammate Hunter Hayward there. He was able to slot down to that second spot. But one of the guys I really watched was Paul Cohen in the 51 and Todd Neese. They both started 4th and 6th, so 2nd and 3rd in that front row or in the outside row, and they just went straight backwards. Here's you see Stympian and Todd Neese and James Bryan. They jump up to the top here. See, they can get a side draft going here. But as you can see, they're losing time to the line up in front of them. This could be a very dangerous thing to do if you get racing too hard.
Yeah, and that loss with the side draft was so much more abrasive than what we saw last night with the current Cup cars. Current Cup cars, it took maybe a lap or two with the side draft to lose that lead draft of the lead pack in front of you. But that time, it just took about half a lap, and it looked like they were in danger of completely losing everyone. Luckily, I think everyone recognized, hey, we got to get in line quickly. Otherwise, we're going to be losing too much ground. But touching on teamwork, we touched on the fact that Smoke Inc., probably one of the favorites coming into tonight. Hunter Hayward, Dave Bush leading the way up front.
Yeah, they got themselves up front now, but they're looking to say, well, where's Steven at? They're looking for Stimpy. He's trying to work his way up. Yeah, and that is one thing that Mark Whitley alluded to me. He says, Zach, this car just side drafts so much more aggressive. Even at every racetrack, he says, you go to, a mile and a half and you just get side by side with someone and you just stall out. So I think at this plate track with, this package here, it's going to be even more of a factor here, as we've seen big time slowdowns when you get side by side. But at the moment, everybody electing to go single file here through the first 7 laps. And that's just smart racing from these drivers. You think drivers, you want to go out there and make passes, but if you're a guy 2nd, 3rd, 4th in line here like Leffler, Delph, and Bush, why pull out a line right now? You could just go all the way back to 20th at this point. It's really just a risky thing to do, and you're going to wait for that line to build up behind you before you jump out.
That's also something to watch out for with the drivers all staying in line, getting close to one another. Something we saw last night kind of was a shocker to see was early on. Tom Sinchek last night blew his engine by staying on the back bumper of the driver of Proud Rochelle for too long. That's going to be another factor for these drivers to watch out for the longer the run goes on, what those temps are going to be like, because, Zach, I would imagine these drivers can't stay directly on someone's bumper for too long.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting thing because, last night I believe the cars had about 10% tape. Not unsure what the setup here tonight has. So that tape really affects it. Last night it seems like you could get it hot if you stayed on the bumper for a long time, but as soon as you pulled out, it cooled off pretty quickly. If these guys got more tape on this setup here, when you pull out, it doesn't cool off as quick. So it's kind of harder to manage, and that temperature stays higher. The car's gonna be faster, but the temperature stays higher, so it's hard to follow. But it could be worse. It could be better. We'll have to see. Maybe one of the drivers let us know later here, but it is a tough thing to do at play tracks, and it's something you got to always be monitoring. If you slip up for one moment and don't pay attention to that little red light flashing, you can see what happens to, the champ himself. Tom Sinchek, he's a fantastic driver. It can happen to the best of them. You just got to be paying attention at all times to that water and oil temp.
Temperature is going to be the factor. Tires, though, it doesn't seem like they're really worried about it that much here tonight. But man, has it been a struggle with this series almost for the past 6 weeks. It has been a talking point about how are the tires looking. Will you be having enough sets of tires to work with? But Zach, here tonight, only 4 sets. One they started out with, 3 in pit road. So imagine tires, not a factor either here tonight.
Yeah, the only reason they're going to take tires tonight is just because they got to take fuel for that long. Personally, we'd probably try to do the whole race on one set if it was quicker, but by putting a full tank of fuel in there, it takes a good amount of time. So might as well go ahead and put the full tires on. But yeah, tires not a big issue here. That's something a big talking point, like you said, throughout the whole season. I'm sure that'll come back up through the next weeks as we get back to the regular racetracks. But here tonight, it's going to be all about holding that gas wide open, getting to the front, and staying out there.
Talladega here tonight, lap 11 of 94, and still a lot of racing to go on. Expecting this field, that single file now, a lot of branching and drivers being split up. And Zach, we saw that a lot last night with the NAIS CC Cup Series. When pit road came, when all the drivers came into pit road, we got to see really a bunch of packs building out from one another. I mean, what is the biggest factor for these drivers once they come to pit road that could be making these drivers split up so much?
Yeah, the biggest thing it comes down to is having people to work with when you come to pit road. You come by yourself, it's not going to be a good day, but it's all about getting on the pit road and off the pit road. It's one of the toughest things actually at this track. You think, this is a pretty easy track to get around, just holding it wide open, turn a wheel left. But where you can gain time on your competition is that entry to pit road and that exit to pit road. Exit, you wouldn't think it's hard, but putting the power down for some reason on these super speedway tires, it's very, very difficult with the gearing. And you got to watch for that wheel spin and getting on the pit road. We've seen all season long lockups with people at the short tracks and the road courses. So I got to think that's going to be something on a lot of these drivers' minds, getting their brake bias right before when they come down to pit road. Because if you lock up those front tires, you're not going to slow down quick enough, and you have a good shot at getting a penalty by speeding.
Yeah, I mean, practicing pit road is usually one of the main things that these drivers focus on. That hour before the race starts is coming into pit road, making sure you have a safe place to come in. And, when you got multiple drivers fanning out into pit road, you got to make sure everyone's got plenty of space to slow down. And those lockups going to be one of the biggest factors for these drivers for sure, Zach, as I mean, the lockups, like you noted, have been prevalent, expecting them to continue on. But looking at these drivers right now, they've been getting pretty close to one another. A couple of bumps here or there, trying to give a little bit of a shove. But at this point, if everyone's willing to just stay in line, I mean, is there really a positive to getting on someone's back bumper and giving them a bump at this point when no one's really showing a sign that they want to even try to go to the outside?
Other than Dave Bush. Dave Bush is personally, he's got free range, kind of do what he wants because Hayward's got nobody in front of him. It is very dangerous to be riding in this, this just one line, bumping a guy in front of you because you can't see nothing in front of you. the visibility up ahead of you is terrible. You really can't tell what's going on. If you shove a guy too hard, you know what he's pretty much a passenger at that point. And I think we even seen a wreck last night, kind of like that, where you can't see in front of you. You're just shoving the guy ahead, coming down to the end, and that guy can't get slowed down because the cars in front of him are going much slower, and the closing rates cause big checkups, and that's where you get big collisions and big wrecks when you're single file.
Dashing from in-car view to in-car view, gain a sense of you really have no idea what's going on in front of you unless you see someone move up, giving you some space. On board with Steven Leffler, and Leffler currently riding in 4th position, but once you see everyone gets in line and all straightened out, you can't see anything. It is just a giant blind spot on if somebody makes a move. Danger can happen. Some drivers, a little step out going on. Further at the 9th, 10th position, drivers deciding to move up just slightly, and Steven Stempien moving up 1 position and now up to 9th place. And it's a little shuffles further back where drivers are okay with trying to go side by side, see if they can get a run with 2 to 3, sometimes 4 drivers, but it's everyone that's going to be in the top, practically 6 to 7. It is stay in line until pit road happens. Zach, I know I wasn't given a window of when drivers were thinking about pit stops. Were you given a window on fuel?
No window for me either, Sam, but just from past experience here, I believe they're burning a pretty similar fuel mileage that we had last night, about a half a gallon per lap, 18.7 gallons. So you're looking at that range there, 36 laps around there. I think personally tonight, the way with this working out at 94 laps, I think you're going to see them around lap 30 is when that window is going to start up, and maybe 31. Maybe some guys will stretch a little farther to give them that breathing room, because, you know, we seen last night, green white checkers. I tell you, if we had another one of those, a few guys wouldn't have made it back, and it's including myself. So you got to be planning for that also. So could we see them stretch it to that farther point? I would not be surprised, actually. Then even you could fuel it up less at the end. I mean, there's lots of strategies they can play here at this racetrack. It's one of the cool things about it is pit strategy is more prevalent here than I'd say a lot of the racetracks that we actually go to.
And, you know, we're going to be looking at these drivers. Pit road could be disastrous for some of them, and, you know, touch on the fact you want to come in with friends, but some drivers sometimes make the mistake of coming down by themselves. You're seeing the drivers going around and making the moves, and we're actually going to take a look at a new feature that we now have on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. We're going to look at the first place and 22nd position. It's a 21 position difference, but we're going to be seeing what our leader is running with, leading the pack up front, and a driver that's all by himself with Mark Koschik, and you can just see the lap differences. Our leader, Adam Hayward, running about 2.5 seconds faster every single lap. That's the power of the draft between the driver that's all on his lonesome and is also running on the high side, the 33, just waiting to be caught by our leaders so he can follow right behind and stick with the back of this draft.
Yeah, and it's actually going to be tough for him to actually to catch on. If you don't get within 0.4 or 0.3 of them and get into that draft and start getting the RPM up, build up again, you're going to be in for a tough time, and you could lose the draft again, and he could fall 2 laps down, before this thing's over with. Right now, though, his goal has got to be able to latch on there. As you can see, the time difference is just mega compared to having a car push you and having a car not to help you at all. It's why plate racing is plate racing.
Yeah, plate racing certainly is one of the factors, and you know, we've seen in other aero packages. Right now, I think a lot of the drivers are on iRacing enjoying the trucks as well as the Xfinity package. It gives you a lot more space to kind of make hero moves by yourself. As looking at drivers, is seeing some drivers moving up and down on where they're at, as the 3 looks like Dylan Zelm going to be coming into pit road. Unscheduled stop for the 3 machine, it looks like. Ooh, as he's having some blinking issues and now has actually disconnected. So now we're down with 30, or down to 21 drivers left on the lead lap.
Yep, and here we go now. Mark Koschik, he's under fire here as the leaders go by. We'll see if he can latch on. The biggest thing for him is he wants to be on the straightaways falling in behind him. If he falls into him off the corner, he has way more chance of falling back here We'll see if he can slide in. Right now, he's really high up the racetrack. Personally, I know it's not a big fan to do this, but I would be side drafting the guys trying to slow him down, trying to get in position, even as a lap car.
Yeah, it would not be a fan favorite type of move, nor a driver favorite to make that move, but certainly a selfish reason to try to get in line. But it just seems like the 33 running his own race as still just staying on the high side, not trying to give anyone else any issues, and now going to drop down, try to get in line, but it's just too far back. The speed's too different. I don't think the 33 is going to latch on this time.
Yeah, he's lost it. He's already too far back, and it is not the nicest thing to do by side drafting being that lap car, but you almost have to do it for yourself. It's one of those things where if you don't do it, you see what happens. You be the nice guy and stuff, and now you're gonna be the nice guy that's possibly gonna be looking at 2 laps down here before he can latch up to the field. I mean, he's got to really hope for a caution now because he's still monkey dog spot. That's the one good thing he has to keep in mind. The race is not over. I mean, I think last night we seen a driver come back from 2 laps down to make it in the top 10. I mean, in the last green white checker runs, Talladega is a crazy place. I've seen drivers come back from 4 laps down to win the race. It's a place where cautions can happen, and I would not be surprised if we see caution get back a lead lap due to some incident bringing that caution out.
On board watching the 77 of Mark Whitley, and Whitley comes in as our points leader. 37 points ahead of that of Michael Yarrow. And both drivers ran all 11 races coming into tonight's race. Yarrow, he's been trying to stay consistent, but it's hard to beat a driver that has 4 wins, 7 top 5s, 9 top 10s, and has just been one of the favorite drivers each and every week. But for that of Michael Yarrow, he's now trapped in a situation that you really don't want to be in. He's found himself being off the pace. He is with the pack of 4 that are 23 seconds off of our leader. Michael Yarrow, Jim Kolmensberger, as well as Jason Adams and Kevin Roy. All 4 drivers in line trying to work with one another, but they're running about 5/10 off of what our leaders are running.
Yeah, and that's just not going to get it done if this thing stays green. And, at some point, they possibly could be threat to go a lap down. I mean, they've already lost 23 seconds at this point, 23 laps into the race. I mean, by lap 50, they could be a lap down or in jeopardy of going a lap down. So, got to get it going here for the 95, especially second in points. I would normally say, at a plate track, this is not a bad strategy to fall back here and fall way back like this because, we normally see chaos. But with this package, man, I'm telling you, it's all about qualifying up front, keeping yourself in that track position because it's just so tough to make passes and gang up on people. I mean, we've seen, I believe, in around the 8th position there with Mike Chamberlain. Steven Stempien was side drafting so hard on his door, trying everything he could to get past them and get, in position. It literally built a 6/10, almost a second gap between 7th to 8th. It literally broke those 2 packs apart. Luckily, they're starting to catch back up, it looks like. But it just shows you, when you start racing side by side, you just slow down so much.
Yeah, I thought for a second for sure they were defined 2 different groups, but now they're coming with a surge. Mike Chamberlain, as well as Steven Stempien, and others are trying to make a move. Stempien gets sideways, holds on. Well, you thought maybe they were going to try to work as a group with this run, and Mike Chamberlain hesitated, and Paul Cohen tried to follow the 30, and it just backfired for this group. They've got to try to get back in line, but they're side by side. Drivers further back in 12th position. You got Love, Stempien, Todd Neese. They're all trying to get in a line. But that was a scary moment where we almost lost some more drivers. But Love, he continues to side draft this further pack. Finally gets in line. But man, scary spot where drivers, I think for that of Paul Cohen, he as well as that of Brandon Hartwell and Robbie Darnell, this 3-car pack of 9th on back, they have lost the trap of our top 8.
Yes, they have. They're too far right. They're gonna have to mount some good speed here to get back up. Another issue that they're gonna deal with there though is Brandon Hartwell. Major nose damage getting into the back of the 81 of Steven Stempien, who Stempien got into the back of, I believe that was Paul Cohen. Yes, it was in the 51, and he's got some pretty good nose damage, but I tell you what, Hartwell's is really bad. Luckily for him, he's pretty tucked up behind the 51. It won't be too much of an issue, but as soon as he tries to pull out and make any type of move, that 25 is going backwards.
As you see there, we're on board with 81 of that is Steven Stimpy. And in front of him is the 44, as that is our sponsor for tonight's race. That's Robbie Darnell running the Hillsboro Feed Company and trying their best to surge back up, but the difference between 8th and 9th of these two packs is 1.3 seconds, and it continues to grow. They're now starting to run pretty equal times to the drivers that are at the end tail of this lead pack, as our leader running very quick times, almost a full 10th faster than Paul Cohen, which means they are going to be continuing to lose time. And a little bit of shuffling. Cohen gets shoved up to the outside.
Oh, man, and now they're going to shuffle this up. This is going to make it even worse, because now look who's out front. The 25 of Hartwell, and major nose damage on the front of that car. If they don't get that car out of the front of this line here quickly, they're going to drop back like a rock.
I'm wondering if we can hop on board with the 25. I'm wondering if he has any signs that can show to him that he's got that front end damage, because no, it's not really showing that he's got damage on this hood in this cockpit view. So he might not even know that he's got this front end damage.
Yeah, he might just think it's a little bit of cosmetic, just a little, here and there damage, kind of like Stimpy has. But that is a good bit. Like you said, you can't even notice it there on the hood from the position of the seat of the driver. That's a tough spot to be in right now. Stimpy is electing to push him, but I can tell you just from looking at the speed that they're carrying, I mean, they still are making pretty decent time there, actually, surprisingly. I mean, Stimpy is pushing them very, very hard, but it's we'll see if they can get it back, because like right now, personally, they actually do have the mile per hour advantage from the guys ahead.
Yeah, this lead pack, they're starting to give each other a little bit more space than one another. Still, the leaders up front, Hunter Hayward and that Dave Bush, staying right on top of one another. But it's Brad Delph that's kind of just backing off, giving plenty of space, which is kind of causing this whole entire lead group to have a little bit of a balloon action of slight drag in the back, because no one's really focusing on staying in line and trying to pull away and make sure this second pack doesn't catch back up. They're kind of feeling relaxed, which is helping this second pack out to get a little bit closer each and every time. But over the radio, the drivers in the second pack, they're questioning, why are we not catching them? And with the questioning, you might start to wonder if maybe it's the front cars, maybe it's us in the middle of the pack that are causing some windows of coming up, being a parachute at times, and also could be the factor the drivers just not as in line as this front pack.
Yeah, and I think they're also starting to figure out here as they go on that Hartwell might have a good bit of damage. At some point, you'll figure it out here. Looking at the lap times, though, they still are turning quicker laps. It's about a 10th quicker than Chamberlain up ahead of them in that 70 machine. But I tell you, it's going to be very interesting to see what they do. And we got our lap times now on our board here, so you can see what they're doing compared to the drivers ahead. But again, the distance that they are back from the drivers right here, they should be getting a very, very good tow. And I do think they'll close this up here, as it seems like that gap is shrinking slowly.
They're now within 7/10. They're about to be within 6, and this is when you start to really get that surge and a tow from the draft. The difference that you're going to be seeing, that second pack being led by Hartwell in 9th place, and here they come. It just completely diminished where that gap was. But will they use this draft and use this tow to try to make a pass on the outside? The 25 thinking about it, but they're just not close enough. And if they hesitate once again, it could cause the same wreck that we just had just 8 laps ago.
Oh yeah, big checkup too as soon as they get there. Oh, that could have been major disaster there already again for them. But yeah, they couldn't stay together. It seems like Stimpy gave him the big push there when it's just the 25 in front of him, he was able to push him. But as soon as the 25 got that big draft from the 70 up ahead of him, it just pulled that 25 away from the 81, separated their push from each other, and 25 didn't have the help there to go to the outside. And now it's going to stall out here. But I can tell you one thing, they're just happy now. They're back in position. They can see the lead. They know that they're with the whole pack, and they are in position here for this pit stop, because right now, lap 32, I'd say here, this is the window open now. So let's see who can bring it on down first.
32 to 35 is the window we're going to just throw out there. I think they're going to be aiming for. So So the window has opened up for these drivers. A lot of them most likely going to be trying to aim to turn this race into a two-stopper, pit around lap 31 to 35, and then also pit around lap 33 to, 40, 63, I know numbers, to 70. That's going to be another window for these drivers to try to turn this race into a two-stop type of an action, but and there are some drivers extremely gutsy, which I don't know if they would feel comfortable doing it, but maybe thinking about stretching it out, possibly think about making and turning this race into a one-stop race, which if they're going to do that, they're going to have to try to stretch it out to around lap 46 to 47, which that is just way too far for a lot of these drivers, but hey, some people might try something silly.
Yeah, and also this car, it may have less fuel consumption than the Cup car that I drove last night. So, that a lot of that still comes down to drag. I mean, does this car have less drag? It could be actually more fuel efficient, so to say. So we could see them go longer. It could be burning more fuel. Also, they are actually running a little bit quicker normal times than what we were last night. So I tell you what, it's going to be interesting to see what they do here, but I still think the two-stop is the way to go because just 47, that is definitely pushing it. But I tell you what, I'm out of my comfort zone here. I don't know the fuel mileage when it comes to this car.
And drivers that try to get a little bit frisky, try some different moves. We saw Paul Cohen at one moment racing around 8th position, and he is now dropped outside of that second PAX draft. He is falling back to 16th position. And his next driver he's going to fall to is that of Michael Yarrow. But these drivers in the back of this lead pack now going to be that of Clifton Ashley. Also, Robbie Darnell lingering behind. And got to be thinking, hey, we're hooked up to the draft right now. Might not feel like trying to make any pit stops, but drivers look like indicating that they might think about pit stops here shortly. But it's the drivers that are further back in the second pack that are indicating that they're going to be coming in.
Yeah, so it looks like led by Michael Yarrow in the 95, the 19 of Jim Coleman-Sperger, Jason Adams in the 24, and Kevin Roy. So those 4 cars will hit pit road this time. And they're about 30 seconds back there, and the last time we checked in on them, they're about 23. So during that little span of time, they lost 7 seconds. I mean, it just shows you it's without that pack a big number of cars, it's easy to lose time, and I think a few of them might have slipped in their boxes. They're all coming down now. Whoa.
Connor Hayward locked up his brakes. Got to be careful not to be caught speeding. These drivers going anywhere from 180 to 190 miles per hour out of the corner, and if they have to slow down to 55 miles per hour, their pit road speed, and it is madness. Contact going to be made. The 33 and the 14. And it's going to be Brad Delph that gets the worst of it. And it's drivers that were exiting and trying to get in their pit box. And the 14, I'm going to have to loop it around. He'll be losing this lead pack once he gets into his pit stall because everyone's leaving and he's on his own. Oh, worst case scenario for the 14.
Yeah, that is never good. Brad Delphin, he's also one of our guys, battling for the points there, 5th in points. That's not going to be a good points night for him. He needs to gain on that guy we're looking at right behind the 21, Hunter Hayward. That's Mark Whitley, the 77-hour points leader. All these drivers need to gain points later tonight, and I can tell you, talking to Mark last night, he was very worried about this race. He says, if I can get out of here with a good finish and decent points, he feels like he can wrap that championship up before Dover. So we could see him do that. We could see possibly anything shake out here. If he gets caught up in anything, though, no fast repair, it could be night over. So we'll see how it shakes out, Sam. I tell you what, with him missing that last race, it's going to make it pretty close in points, I think.
And also re-looked at that pit stop because there were so many drivers there, different collisions everywhere on track. Steven Stimpian and Brandon Hartwell both made contact as well into pit road, as well as Robbie Darnell. And also the 25 of Hartwell did not get into their pit box when they came in the first time. They had to come back in again.
Yeah, just unfortunate circumstance for the event for these guys. And you can see the damage up on that 81. It looks like going back and looking at that, he just made contact turning into his box with the 25 on that left front, and it cracked it pretty good there. So a little bit more damage added to the 81 Steven Stepien. He's going to for most likely a caution to help him get that fixed. But the one thing I'm looking at is you got Leffler here, you got Bush, you got Love and Stympian. These four right here. But up ahead of them, look how far Mark Whitley and Hunter Hayward are ahead of these guys. I mean, we'll see if they can get ran back down. I believe they will. 4 cars, of course, should be better than 2. But Whitley and Hunter, Whitley and Hayward, they did a fantastic job getting on the pit road and especially getting off. That's really where they got the rest of the field.
Yeah, and looking at when they were on pit road itself, they were actually 2 seconds faster than the rest of the field just driving down pit lane, and that's where they gained a lot of this time to be able to be faster than everyone else. Also, we saw Hunter Hayward lock up those brakes, maximizing his speed on the aggressive entry into pit road. Those are the moments that you can gain time. But something I was thinking about when we were initially talking about pit stops was, what if you come in too aggressively, and because you get out so far ahead, you find yourself in this type of situation where Hunter Hayward and Mark Whitley, they're so far ahead of everyone else, but the drivers behind, they're going to have a massive surge and just easily pass you here.
Yeah, this is going to be a big chance for Steven Leffler here. We'll see if the 72 uses his advantage here, because right now, when they cross the line, they're about 8/10 back from that lead. They will be to the back bumper of these guys by the end of this back straightaway here. You're going to see the closing rate, how fast it is. And Leffler, if he makes the move at the right time, he will get this pass done. We'll see if anybody goes with him, though.
A lot of drivers. Leffler to the outside. No one else going to be following suit, just going to be staying in line, which is going to be costing the 72. He went from trying to be the lead car, trying to get the lead, to now he'll follow the back bumper of this lead pack. Oh, I hate when you just see no one else want to trust you.
That's a tough call there. And if Leffler doesn't get down quick here, he's in jeopardy. Oh man, he's gonna lose the draft. He's done for.
It's one of those things where you've got to be instant. Right when you get the call, you're clear, come down, instead of just slowly coming down. And Leffler went from possibly going for a chance to lead this race to now possibly losing this group, and he'll fall back to that of Gino Morrow, and also that of Morrow get a little bit of help. And
well, I tell you what, the big thing, he's coming back here because these guys jumped out of line. They jumped out of line, side drafted each other, and it just slowed the whole lineup. That gave him new life. He's back in it, guys, here as he gets the draft. So I tell you what, Steven Leffler needs to thank Dave Bush and Stympian there for side drafting Love and Whitley, because that right there slowed it up enough to where it dropped back to them. Dave Bush, I think he wanted to go with Leffler. It looked like he started to go out there with him, but he just didn't commit. And you got to commit from the get-go if you want to make that run work. You got to go immediately with that driver. It's got to be well-timed and executed. Just a little bit slow on the trigger there from the 52.
Could not figure out how they wanted to attack, but they're in line, and it's now just a waiting game. Everyone pretty much spaced out with 2 little packs of cars here or there throughout this field. It's our top 6 in line, trying to pass lap cars as easy as they can. As we're inching closer and closer to halfway, we're going to step aside. When we come back, we'll finish this race. We'll come to the end. Drivers looking for their next pit stop around lap 65 to 70. We'll see who's going to have the clean pit stop then. Will there be more chaos? We'll find out as the drivers come across the line. Lap 42 is now started. It's Hunter Hayward, Mark Whitley, Derek Love, Dave Bush, Steven Stympian, your top 5. We'll be right back.
you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. There's a reason that Makoni Setup Shop is trusted by more virtual and real-world tracks and companies than any other setup shop in iRacing. With partners such as Stafford Motor Speedway, the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway, Five Flag Speedway, Speed 51, and more. When you want something done right, you go to the experts at Makoni Setup Shop.
With setups available for most series on both asphalt and dirt, built by a team of professional builders consisting of some of the top talents on the service, Makoni Setup Shop LLC has what you need to hit the track with confidence. Head over to MakoniSetupShop.com and learn why Makoni Setup Shop is the official setup shop of Richmond Raceway Esports and is partnered with some of the largest names in virtual and real racing.
And remember, at Makoni Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.
We are past halfway here for the Hillsboro Feed Company 250 at Talladega for the Sim Racing Unleashed Cup Series. It's been drivers getting mixy up front. Right when we went to commercial break, luckily we were side by side. You got to see all the action. Man, it's like they were listening and waiting for us. My name is Sam Dyer. With me is Zach Hall. You got Robert Moyer in the production chair. But Zach, I mean, immediately when we go to commercial, that's when they decide to start making some moves.
Yeah, they tried to make it happen, man. Steven Stippian, Dave Bush, they lined up. Hunter Hayward said, I'm going to go from the lead, go out to the outside, try to give my teammates the draft. They got Dave Bush latched onto Hayward, but Stippian was not able to do it. As we've seen, the side draft from Whitley was just too powerful. As even now, they're ganging up with Derek Love up here with Leffler. Oh, man, they're doing some dicey stuff up now up front. Is cool. They're doing it while we were not in commercial break, Sam.
Oh, a little bit of tandem driving, but it's going to be hurting. That is Steven Stippian, who's going to fall back now to the back end of this group. And what's awesome to see is the fact that, you've got, 7 drivers in this pack, but Jason Adams has kind of just been like, you know what, I'm going to be just the bubble car. If anyone falls too far back, I'll help you search forward. But you 6 up front, you do whatever you want, and I'll let you guys be racy, which has kind of given us a lot of tandem racing. Where drivers want to move up. It's either you go up and move up as 3, or you just find a partner and hope you can start moving forward. But no one's been able to push and get by that of Hunter Hayward or Dave Bush. But our front 6, they stay the same. And I think the biggest question for us has to be, will this group of 6 get divided after the next pit stop, just like we saw most of the field get divided up after the first?
Yeah, the first pit stop usually takes out the most of the, the separation of the drivers. It really separates them. But that second pit stop during this green flag run is going to be the one that separates the winners and the guys that are just going to be competing for, a good top 5, top 10 finish. So I tell you what, this track, it's so tough to pass right now with the package and stuff. The place where you can make it up the most, in my opinion, is pit road. So we'll see which driver executes the best. If you make one mistake, we see one slide through the box, you lose the draft, you lose the time, you are not going to have contention. So you have to be precise on pit road. It is the most nervous and the most important part of the race for you as a driver. Is we're looking at Stippian and trying everything he can. I tell you what, he's pushed multiple drivers forward, and then he's always got the short end of the stick and had to fall back. Feeling for him in the 81, maybe he'll be able to get that thing up in here in position. But the thing I gotta think he's got to keep in mind is he's got damage on the nose, and that's still doing a pretty good job for how much damage he has in that car.
Yeah, and right now for myself, I mean, I'm looking at the charts of where drivers are running because of where our lead pack is and where the next drivers are. You've got some lap traffic that is coming up, as in front of them, you've got all the drivers that are from 12th back to 16th. That's going to be Paul Cohen, that of Hayward, Michael Yarrow, Kevin Roy, Jim Kolsmanberger. These drivers all in a kind of scary situation where the leaders could be trying to catch up to the back half of this field. And this, group of 5, they're also catching up to a group of 3 where you've got Clifton Ashley, that of Mike Chamberlain, as well as James Bryant, all just lingering with one another and hoping that they don't get caught. But our leaders are flying, and they are coming up quick on these drivers that are just spaced out everywhere on track.
Yeah, and one of the drivers up in that position, Michael Yarrow, one of our not playoffs, sorry about that. I'm so used to playoffs, but one of our points contenders here is Michael Yarrow, and he's 37 back here tonight. I'm telling you what, tonight could be the night that takes him out of a shot for that title, because like we said, Whitley missing that last race. He's got to make up points here in these next few races to make it where at going to Dover he has a chance. But tonight here so far has not worked out for that 95, as he's still stuck back here, falling into the grasps of the leaders. And it's going to get weird when the leaders get there. My question is, can the leaders get around them? Really looking at the lap times of these drivers compared to our leader Hunter Hayward is not really that much quicker than these guys. So, they are gaining, but it's not that much that I think they're going to be able to get by. So when they get there, do they ride behind the lap cars? I mean, that's where it gets weird. Our leader could be the 6th or 5th car in a row, technically.
Yeah, and being in that position is not a safe place to be, because you can get these massive surges, and we've seen with our large group, and when we had 18 cars in the lead pack at the start of the race, it was the drivers that were in the further back of the last 8 drivers that were willing to slice and dice, get sideways, and able to make some dangerous moves. If we start to see that means our leaders going to be right in that window of drivers willing to get sideways, willing to get side by side, maybe a little bit of door banging here or there to see who can be leading this race, as we're coming up to about 15 laps until we're thinking about our next pit stops for these drivers around lap 70. So drivers keeping their eyes out. How is this next pit stops going to go? Because if we see our lead pack and the drivers that could potentially be going a lap down make pit stops at the same time, danger, like we've already seen on our first green flag pit stop, could happen, where we had about 2 to 3 collisions under pit road. We can see that same exact thing happen here as drivers inch close and closer to pit road once again for their second potential green flag pit stop.
Yeah, I think that number is going to really come around lap 70, maybe a little bit before at 68, 67, somewhere in that range. So we could see those pit stops start happening within the next 10 laps or so too. So we'll have to watch for that. But these guys up here, what the leaders are most likely hoping here is they don't catch these guys before the pit stops, and they can cycle ahead of them through the pit stops. Just do a better job entering and exit pit road, being more organized. That's going to be the way they possibly could jump in front of these guys, because this is a big train now. They'll possibly be just as quick as our leaders, if not as quick.
And also disappointment for the 14 team. Brad Delph, about 7 laps ago, had to come into pit road to look like an emergency pit stop for himself. And too much damage on the 14 after collision into pit road, and just decided to park it for himself. Into pit road as well is going to be the 33, Mark, getting some repairs done, but he was already extremely slow as well. Might just be staying in pit road for now. But looking at some of these other groups around here, I mean, you've got Todd Neese and Gino Morrow. This is the battle for 7th currently, but it's kind of just a 3-car pack group that are just trying to survive out here. This is 7th through 9th, as they're trying to get some help from, I believe that's the 7 of Keith Hurlbut that is going to be trying to latch on to make this a 4-car group. But all these drivers picking and choosing how they want to work. But that first green flag pit stop scattered everyone. And usually when we talk about super speedway races, Zach, it's like, okay, everyone's got a shot when the pack's all together. But when the race goes primarily green, if there's no caution, it kind of slims that pool of drivers that could win drastically each and every time you go into pit road.
Yeah, because what it really does is it shows the drivers that have a lot of talent at really picking their strategy and getting on and off pit road. This is what green flags, stops here do at this track. It separates really the drivers that have a little bit of that X factor and the racing to go along with it, where some drivers here, they're just really good at racing this track, and then when it comes to these green flag stops, they're kind of like, it's kind of a hit or miss thing. They could make a mistake here or there, where some guys come to this track and they know I'm just really good at hitting my marks, getting on the pit road, doing stuff like that. I can stay with that lead pack. I'll have a shot. for at least a good finish if this thing stays green. I know that's always in the back of my mind when I come to these places is if it stays green, you're within a shot if you just do not make mistakes getting on the pit road, make mistakes choosing when to make passes and side drafting people unnecessarily. It all comes down to that, and I think the drivers right now out front are showing they're really skilled at what they did there on that first pit stop to put the gap they did on the rest of the field. We could, like you said, see this pack get split up, though. Someone could make a mistake on that second pit stop. It's going to come down to that one, though, to be in winning position if we don't get a caution.
The pack the leaders are catching up to just had a scare. Paul Cohen blinked out for a straightaway, and when he came back to in the server, it was Brendan Hartwell who almost had a car inside of him. Luckily, the drivers had plenty of time to react around one another, but it could have been a big scare, and they have lost even more ground. The difference between our leaders and the second group is now less than 4 seconds. It just continues to make these drivers a little bit more nervous the closer our leaders get to them, because we're still about 10 laps away from when we're expecting some green flag pit stops for at least our leaders and for most of the field.
Yeah, for a while, I was thinking they weren't going to catch him before the pit stops, but now looking at this, they're going to catch him before the pit stops more than likely here, especially when they get about 2 seconds back off this pack here. They are really going to start to dig. Then they get to a second, it's going to even pick up from there. So you're going to have to watch this 21, this 53, and 72 out front here to see what they do. Do they elect to go up high? Because right here, you could risk going high if you're Hunter Hayward to go around these lap cars. Nobody goes with you like Steven Leffler did when he caught the cars ahead of him, and you go from that first position that you've been pretty much running in all race to the back of that line.
Yeah, I mean, we've already seen a couple of situations. We've seen when drivers moved up to try to slow down their group. We've seen drivers try to move as a whole pack and almost wreck the whole entire group that was catching up to the pack. The draft is so strong that it's kind of making everyone just slightly nervous on once we see our leaders of Hunter Hayward catch up to the tail end. What's crazy to say, the tail end of the group that's really our top, coming to the end of our top 10. I mean, it's one of the factors where we could see the big one happen here if there's a miscommunication between our leaders and that of the group being led by Clifton Ashley.
And that's where Hayward's gonna be scared. As a leader, you're running down lap cars in a big train of lap cars. When you see 2 or 3 lap cars ahead of you, you say, okay, I know at least when I get up here, we all go high as a group, and we're all gonna go around them. This is different. This is a big pack of cars here that is generating a decent amount of speed also. So when you get there, they're going to give you some type of fight, and these guys don't want to go lap down. If they get a caution here in the next few laps and they can stay on the lead lap and ahead of Hunter Hayward or whoever the leader is, that is going to be critical for the rest of the race. If they go a lap down and have to take a wave around or have to even pit because we're near that pit window, they'll stay a lap down. And we ain't seen many yellows. We ain't seen none yet. So how many times are you going to count on getting that lucky dog and getting that position back from a yellow? You cannot really count on that. So, going to have to do their best to hold them off. Hayward, though, got to be keeping in mind these drivers are going to be fighting for it.
A pack of 8 is what our leaders are trying to catch up to, and it's now only about a tenth or 2 each lap. But it's still within 4 seconds. A little bit less than 4 seconds is the difference between Hunter Hayward and our pack of 6 lead cars, and Jason Adams trying to catch up to Clifton Ashley and everyone else behind. But this group that our leaders are catching up to, the tail end of this pack, they're bobbing and weaving everywhere, which you got Paul Cohen as well as Mike Ligaro not really playing nice. They're going to the high side. They're losing ground, and with them making these moves, it's making our leaders catch up to them just a little bit more each and every lap, which is getting a little bit dangerous if you're trying to slow down your lane and get the leaders closer.
Oh, this is definitely getting into that realm where one of these drivers is going to have to start to worry and push a little bit harder to get out of the poker team when these leaders closing in. And that's where I worry. This package here, there's a lot of checkups in, because you just get runs out of nowhere really, and then you kind of can't really do nothing with them unless you have help. So a lot of times you just kind of got to lift. And if you lift at a certain point that a guy behind you doesn't expect and he's close, it causes a checkup from him where he has to lift and the next guy has to react. And each time that reaction goes down the line, it gets slower and slower, and that's where you have big chain reaction pileups. So got to be watching out because I think these drivers are going to be pushing very hard. Could we see an inner pit road? Here they come down as the leaders. Hayward's going to come down to 21, followed by Dave Bush, and I think his teammate Stympian, Whitley, and Love. Man, Whitley was in hot, guys.
That was going to be close on the timer because he waited until the very last moment to lock up those brakes was Mark Whitley. But worst case scenario, Steven Lettfler, we touched on it when this group came about 3 laps out of their first pit stop. Lettfler almost lost that lead pack. Well, now he's only got that of Jason Adams to push him along. And it went from catching the group ahead to now running a full second slower than them practically with only 2 drivers. But looking at the times, Mark Whitley did not get caught speeding. He's able to keep going and is the leader of the group that's getting moving. There's a little bit of a gap. Could be Steven Stympian and Hunter Hayward try to make a little bit of move once they get up to speed as more drivers in a pit road.
Yeah, more guys electing to hit pit road here, but I tell you what, Whitley did an amazing job to get ahead of the Smoke Inc. guys, but Steven Stympian to the back bumper with Hunter Hayward, and I think that's going to be critical once we get up to speed here. He could possibly get around him, but the driver who did not make the most out of that, Derek Love and Dave Bush, I think they will lose the draft compared to Whitley and Stympian and Hayward. I think it's going to be a 3-car pack most likely for our lead now, as Lettfler stayed out by himself. He's going to be in a big trouble here too, especially because he's just coming off pit road, just across the start-finish line. And here comes Hayward, Stympian, all those group. He's going to lose the draft also with these guys. Man, this is a huge, huge break for Stympian, Hayward, and Whitley, because I think it's going to pretty much put them in position where they can battle it out for them 3, for the top 3. Love, though, try to catch on. I don't think he will be able to unless he can get with Lettfler here and get something moving.
Well, it's all about looking at the time right now because the leaders currently is Todd Neese, Gino Morrow, James Bryan, as well as they've got the lap car of that of Keith Earl. But these 4 machines, they were running only a 10th off of what our top leaders were running. And if our top 3, and once the cycle goes through, which is Hunter Hayward, Sue Stympian, really got to be concerned for themselves as Mark Whitley finding a little bit of help. He's found a lap car. That's going to be Brian Hartwell. That's going to be joining into the mix. And behind them, Lettfler is caught up with a little bit of help from that of Derek Love. So we're starting to see this lead group. They're finding some help from one another, and going to be Morrow coming to pit road and others. That whole entire 4-car group coming into pit road together.
Yes, they are hitting pit road this time. Todd Neese, Gino Morrow leading the way down here. And see what they get service done. 4 tires and fuel most likely for these cars, as they're going to be looking to see where they come out compared to our leaders. They will be a considerable amount back because they're about 10 seconds back before those pit stops. But doing a good job lap time wise. That was a great point you brought there, Sam. They were really putting some good pace together as a smaller pack. And I tell you what, Whitley's got to be very thankful that Hartwell was there as a lap car, because that is really let him latch on now, as it's got 4 cars here now. And behind that, it looks like it's going to be Derek Love, Steven Lettfler, and then they'll have at least Michael Yarrow with them. So that's going to be 3 good cars there that they could possibly maybe catch up here if these guys up front start to get to racing.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is Michael Yarrow has been playing conservative all race long. He hasn't really been on anyone's bumper for a long stint of time, and he's going to have to get right on the back bumper if he wants to make a charge. As it's going to be our top 3, Hunter Hayward, Steven Stympian, as well as Mark Whitley in this 4-car pack. Lettfler trying to give Derek Love a bunch of love on the back bumper, shoving and moving him along, but they're losing ground over 2.5 seconds back. His 4th place back to 3rd. And then you have drop even further back. That of Dave Bush. He's all on his lonesome, losing ground. Morrow, Todd Neese, as well as that of James Bryan and Kevin Roy. All those drivers have actually lost the draft of one another. So it's really just down to our front drivers on how well they can work with one another. As, man, Zach, I mean, with the way that these drivers are cycling through, it is now down to the 3 drivers with the most wins this season that are looking to get another one on for themselves unless a late caution comes out.
Yeah, that caution could shake up everything, but the way the field's so spread out right now, it's going to be tough for that possibly to even happen. But man, I've seen crazier things happen, so I can't rule that out. That's for sure. But man, right now, just thinking to it, Smoke Inc.'s got 2 guys up here. You got Mark Whitley by himself. But what does Brandon Hartwell do? That is going to be the X factor. Does he help Whitley? He's kind of the the X factor here that we'll see if it comes down to the end. Is he the one that helped the 77 coming down here?
24 laps to go when they cross the line. It will be 23. We're going to step aside for the final time. When we come back, it's going to be the final 20 laps here for the SRU Cup Series for the Hillsboro Feed Company 250 here at Talladega. We'll be back in just a few moments. It's Hunter Hayward, Steven Stipien, Mark Whitley with the shot to win here tonight, as that of Derek Love and Steven Leffler continue to lose ground.
want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. There's a reason that Makoni Setup Shop is trusted by more virtual and real-world tracks and companies than any other setup shop in iRacing. With partners such as Stafford Motor Speedway, the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway, Five Flags Speedway, Speed 51, and more. When you want something done right, you go to the experts at Makoni Setup Shop.
With setups available for most series on both asphalt and dirt, built by a team of professional builders consisting of some of the top talents on the service, Makoni Setup Shop LLC has what you need to hit the track with confidence. Head over to MakoniSetupShop.com and learn why Makoni Setup Shop is the official setup shop of Richmond Raceway Esports and is partnered with some of the largest names in virtual and real racing.
And remember, at Makoni Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.
It is now less than 20 laps to go. We're down to 16, and the drivers up front are making the charge. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to SRU Sim Racing Unleashed Cup Series here at Talladega for the Hillsboro Feed Company 250. My name is Sam Dyer. With me is Zach Hall. Robert Moyer running the productions as the laps tick away. The solution of who's going to win this is looking more and more promising. That's just going to be our front three here, Zach, as most of the field is quite split up from one another. But our front three do have a wild card. That's Brandon Hartwell that could be trying to help that of Mark Whitley, or he could be helping out the front two. We really don't know where he's going to lie here late in this race.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. We got a bunch of lead lap cars mixed up with lap cars. Like, looking right here, Steven Leffler, Derek Love running 4th and 5th. Yeah, they're 6.5 seconds back, but they got Mike Chamberlain, Michael Yarrow, Robbie Darnell, and also I believe is that the 19? Oh yeah, it's Jim Kolmsberger. Yeah, the 19 there. Sorry, I couldn't see his number there, but man, you got a good mix of lap cars, and then you got the two lead lap cars ahead of them. So it's kind of like you're finding little alliances around the track. But I tell you what, with the laps clicking down, Hunter Hayward, Steven Stippy, and Mark Whitley, right now they're saying, if anything, we just want to see the white flag, and then we can race it out at that point. I mean, it's going to get interesting to see what Hartwell does as a lap car up there in between, since he's the third car in line with Whitley being 4th. We'll see what he does and what decision he makes, because he's going to be the real cog in the wheel. He's going to be the one making sure if Whitley has a chance or Whitley has no chance. So we'll see how that plays out here in the final 14, but definitely been an interesting race where it's really come down to track position and strategy and not making mistakes getting on the pit road, and that's really what separated these front three to be out this far.
Yeah, it has been a tale of mistakes, disaster for some, but it's been green all the way through. Hunter Hayward's been leading practically every single lap during this race. With Steven Stimpian, though, he's been roughed up a couple of times here tonight. He had contact while on the racing surface when drivers had a slight mistake on hesitation if they want to make a pass or not after getting a great tow on lap 15, I believe, which then he got some front end damage, and then the 81 got more side damage under our first green flag pit stop around lap 35 when he got some side quarter panel issues. Well, this 81 still chugging along, still has a shot to win, but then you drop back to third place. Mark Whitley, another one of those drivers that kind of was off sequence from some. He's shown pace to be up front, but it's finding friends that's been kind of the biggest issue for the 77, but still with aggressive pit entries and pit stops that have allowed him to stay up front. That's what put Mark Whitley in third position, and they also got that of Hartwell, who's been one of those drivers that's had a lot of issues. You know what's funny, actually, rethinking about it, that contact that Stimpian got was actually on pit road, was from that of Hartwell, that has kind of put Hartwell a lap down, being himself the first car one lap down. But we'll see if drivers want to get some forgiveness with a helpful push, or will they get aggressive here? But Zach, our front three, they continue to pull away from the rest of the field. Even though that second pack being led by Derek Love has more cars, they are not as in line and not running as fast as our front four.
Yeah, our front four are turning some of the fastest laps of the whole entire race. I mean, they have really started to pick it up. I mean, Hunter Hayward ran his fastest lap on lap 78, so not far away from where we are right now. So really been clicking off them fast 49 O's. Really haven't seen a 48-second lap from our leader yet, but I'm sure the guys behind him have clicked off one of those so far. But 11 to go. It's between these three at the moment, but if any yellow flag waves, it brings everybody right back in the picture. We have 9 guys on the lead lap at the moment. James Bryan, though, he's looks like he's got one other car with him here in the 52. He's about 40 seconds behind our leader, so he could possibly be looking to go a lap down before this thing's over with. We'll see, though. At the moment, though, Hunter Hayward, Steven Stipien out front. The biggest thing I think Mark Whitley's got to keep in mind is he's third right now. He said he just wanted good points here tonight. He's in third, so that's a great position for him. He's got 2 teammates in front of him, so it's going to be tough to pass. But also the 2 teammates he has in front of him are the guys that are pretty far away from him points. I mean, Hayward coming in here tonight, 54 points back. Stipien was over 60 points back. So really, he's got a great gap to that group of drivers. It's really he's going to be gaining on Yarrow, the biggest, who's the closest driver to him, and even Steven Leffler. So Whitley's got to take this race with a grain of salt, saying, I may not be in winning position, but I'm in position to have a very good points tonight. That's maybe going to set me up for a back-to-back championship season.
Yeah, I mean, for these guys, there's no playoffs. It's all about the full season on who runs. And for that, Mark Whitley, he's shown up for every single race. While the drivers that have also won this season, all of them have missed a race at some point. I mean, Hunter Hayward, he's tied with 4 wins with Mark Whitley coming into tonight's race. He has missed 1 race this season. Steven Stipien, who has won 2 races this season in the past 4 weeks, and he's missed 1 race. Steven Leffler, who won a couple of weeks back, he's also missed 1 race. So for that, Mark Whitley, those are the only drivers that have won this season. And they have missed races while he has shown up for every single one. And that's where we're really seeing the differences between these points battles, because it could have been a lot closer if Mark Whitley just missed and did not get any points for a single race.
Yeah, I think that actually is very interesting to hear there, Sam. That's a great stat to bring up, because just how close the points are really from second on down. It would show, like, if those guys wouldn't have missed the race, our points battle for the lead would be so close from first to sixth. It would be really cool to see that, but unfortunately those guys did miss a race. Whitley's going to miss Dover, but like he said, he's going to do a starting park. So what he's going to do is do a few laps, so he will get awarded points at least. That is a very smart position for him to do that, and that could possibly be the saving grace in his championship, because a 0 in the championship column is a huge dud.
Yeah, it is not good to get a 0 at all, but, we've seen it. We saw it last night. Drivers, yes, it was green primarily for last night's race, but those final 20 laps for the NAI SCC Cup Series, those last 20 laps, it got real frisky because a lot of drivers started making some abrasive moves, made some unwarranted types of passes that brought out some yellows. Yes, we see everyone super spread out, but I've seen plenty of super speedway races where some of these pack of drivers that might not be even racing for a win or even for position just have a lapse of judgment. This is a very long race. Each lap here at Talladega around 49 seconds to 50 seconds for a 2.66 mile course, and we've already ran 88 laps. The drivers, they're starting to feel that fatigue as they've been running single file close to that yellow line almost every single lap, except for two to three times that they've had to come into pit road. This is when the drivers got to be careful. Hope their spotters keeping them awake and alert, and that they don't make any mistakes, because our front 3 are awake and alert, are prepared to make any type of moves. It's everyone else behind them in the packs that might feel like, we're not really racing for much, that they can make a lapse of judgment and can bring it out of yellow.
Yeah, that's where the danger lies. You got guys out there who's right now riding around kind of saying, 6 to go. This race is kind of done for me. I'm where I'm at. I'm not going to go anywhere else. So that's when you get mental lapse. And those mental laps can equal big wrecks and just collisions that can equal a yellow. I mean, 2-car spin, it could trigger a yellow. We never know in these situations here. So got to stay on your A game if you want to keep it clean and green here. Like you said, the front three are doing that, but is the rest of the field? That's where we possibly could see that yellow. Even, I mean, does Whitley get aggressive with Hartwell here too? Does he try to, go for this win? Does he throw caution to the wind and say, man, I'm just going for it, try to get the most points I can here tonight to just be able to, clinch that championship, maybe win a race early. So we'll see if Whitley takes that chance. But I imagine if I'm him, if Hartwell's really not trying to work with me or go with me, I'm going to be riding right there in third and be really content with that finish.
Well, our lead pack drivers, they have caught up to lap traffic. That's going to be finding Keith Earlbutt as well as James Bryant. And they are now within the draft, and they are flying. Hunter Hayward, Stimpy, and Mark Whitley, and that of Brandon Hartwell. They are running fast, quickly, and maybe a little bit of shift could happen here. If Mark Whitley can make sure that Hartwell is behind him and can give him a bump, be the best move, but the leader is going to go to the high side. He easily can move up, and Mark Whitley going to use the lap cars, trying to get a surge possibly here, and it backfires. It doesn't look like it's working, but it's a 3-on-3 battle for our leaders in the lap traffic.
Oh, and Stimpy needs to get down to 81. He was clear, and he just didn't elect to pull down there. Hayward comes back up the racetrack to try to help his teammate. It looks like he is clear from that view there we're seeing. If anything, he wants to try to get Hartwell also, it looks like, in that 25 along with him. As Mark Whitley, he went to take that chance to go to the bottom, try to push the lap cars by these guys. Now, stuck behind 2 more lap cars. That's 3 lap cars in between Hunter Hayward, Steven Stimpy, and Mark Whitley.
What a buffer to have, as for that of Mark Whitley, you kind of need to have at least 2 cars, 1 to 2 cars behind you to give you a nice shove to move forward. When you are going to be the furthest back of the pack, you need someone else to be bold, and it looks like Hurlbutt going to be moving up, going to be given a little bit of position for the 77, and exactly what he needs. Just cut his way through the lap cars, 1 car at a time. So he's got a shot to try to make a bold move here. 3 laps to go, and lap cars now going to be the biggest factor here tonight on if we're going to be seeing either Steven Stimpy and Hunter Hayward win, or will Mark Whitley get some help from lap traffic to make a surge to get by those smoking guts.
Well, I tell you what, Stimpy, he elected to push Hayward to the win at Daytona. I think here he goes for the win. When does he make the move? That's the question, because we see when you get side by side, you get so much slower. Whitley's got to keep that in mind. He's still in a good chance here if these guys get side by side up front. He may have a run to where he can position himself, but 2 to go here. Stimpy all over the back bumper. I do not expect a move from him, though, till maybe the backstretch on the last lap or coming out of the final corner, because he doesn't want to risk getting that side draft too early.
2 laps to go. If a caution comes out now, we go into overtime. If we get to the white flag, we race it to the end. As it's Hunter Hayward, Steven Stimpy, and Mark Whitley, your top 3. But you see this lead pack? There's more than 3 drivers here. Mark Whitley gonna be the second to last driver in line. He's still got a lot of work to do. He's got to pass 4 drivers if he wants to win tonight's race. Talladega coming to the white flag, but the start-finish line is not in the middle of the tri-oval. It's after this tri-oval as they're coming around to the start-finish line. White flag in the air for the hurl for this race. It's going to be a wild one. Mark Whitley, Hayward, Stimpian, they're coming through 1 and 2.
Oh, big check up there. Stimp really backed out of it there, saying he's going to have the big run down the back straightaway. Here it comes. 81 surging to the outside. He's going to make the move on his young teammate, Hunter Hayward. Big side drive. Hayward goes back to draft him down the side. Oh, man. Stimpy into the lead. Here goes Whitley.
Whitley diving it down low. He's now going to be trying to give a move, and he's going to get by Hunter Hayward. But it's going to be now 2 more drivers. He's already made the pass by 2. Mark Whitley, he's going to have to make the move through the tri-oval. Will Hartwell goes down low, high. Wherever Stimpian doesn't go, that's where Whitley has to be. To the outside, now ducking it low, trying to find space, and it's just not there. Steven Stimpian, and he's going to get his 3rd win of the season, and continues to be on the hottest streak so far in the past 4 weeks.
Back-to-back wins, and he almost got wiped out coming to the checker there. Oh, man, I'm fired up with that one. Whitley, what a move from the 77. I know it wasn't a race winner move. He didn't get to the win with that, but that move to pass Hunter Hayward, that's points right there he put between him and that 21 car. What a job from him, man. That was a epic pass coming down to the last quarter.
5 weeks, 3 wins. Steven Stympian has been on a tear for this 81 team, and he continues on with the streak. We didn't know if he was going to make the move on his teammate, but it's beaten, it's battered. It's one of the cars we probably never would have thought would have won tonight. But Steven Stympian found the run, found the speed. He checked up, got enough space, and makes the pass on his teammate instead of following suit like he did at the beginning of the season. Steven Stympian in the 81. He gets by the line and now gets to burn it down. As Zach, what a race it was here tonight.
Oh, man, what a finish there. We didn't see much passing, but that last lap, that shows you when you're the leader, you're kind of a sitting duck if everybody goes without you, and Hayward there dominates the race, stays out front for majority of it. He's going to get his teammate, though, to go around his outside here in the last moments and get back-to-back wins. That is huge for Steven.
Well, we're going to step aside, but when we come back, Zach Hall going to be interviewing that of Steven Stympian, Mark Whitley, and Hunter Hayward. Stay back. We'll be back in a few.
All right, we're back here for our post-race interview segment of tonight's races. We got our top 3 drivers up here. First is our third-place finisher tonight of the 2100 Hayward. Let's hear from that young man as he was able to lead most of the last night, but not come home with the victory. Let's hear what his thoughts are. Hey, Hunter, it's Zach up in the booth. You got a copy, buddy?
Yes, sir, I do.
Well, buddy, to be plain and simple, how does it feel to lead all them laps and not come home with the victory?
Oh, wow. That's what you usually expect from Talladega. It's kind of a snoozer, to be honest. It was freight train simulator for a little bit, but I liked it. I know it is a great game, Robert, but I enjoyed it. I like leading on the laps. I got a ton of bonus points today, so I'll enjoy all of that. It's frustrating that lap traffic kind of pushed somebody I was trying to work with all day today to the win, but it's all right. I'll take a top 3. It was overall a great race and no cautions.
Yeah, it was definitely no caution. Stay green. You had to be excellent on pit road on your strategy and all that. So you guys had excellent teamwork there. You know, like you said, lap cars getting involved, come down there to the end as it's a little bit of pack racing there. So it was fun for us. I tell you, Hunter, it might not have been fun for you to get side drafted and pull back, but we got the yell for the first time during the race, so it was a little bit enjoyable. So unfortunately for yourself, it didn't work out, man. But I tell you what, you got 3 weeks coming up here, man. You know, you came in here tonight 54 points back. You did lead the most laps. You know, you also led a lap, so you should at least gain, I believe, a point on Whitley. So you know, you closed in just a teeny bit, but man, you got 3 races to go. We know Mark is going to be a starting park at Dover. Is there any chance you think you can possibly slide your way into a championship position? Because you know you got a championship here before, man. Would it feel like to get that second? And do you think you got a shot at it?
Yeah, so 4 bonus points today for me. I think 1 for Whitley. So a really good day for me. I pretty much won the race with points wise, technically, since I had 3 more than everybody else in the field. So that's really awesome to hear. So that's a great points day overall, even if we didn't get the victory, and that's all right. But yeah, 3 more weeks. Whitley, like you said, isn't going to race in the Dover race, and so you know that's a lot of potential for me to go out there and do the best I can points wise. But you know, these next 3 weeks, I got to do the most I can and get the most points as I can for the next couple of weeks, and maybe I can have a shot. You know, it's 1 week at a time. Maybe I can do this. I know it's unfortunate that I had to miss a race in the middle of the season, so unfortunately, that's why I'm so far back. But you know, Whitley's going to be on the same ground as me with starting or not finishing a race at all. So, you know, I think it could be a close one here, and who knows? We might have a really close battle to finish for a championship.
Well, it's gonna be fun to watch the next 3 races, man. See if you guys can close that gap to Mark, because he's definitely had a good strong hold on it here for majority of the season. But like you said, he's got that race coming up that he's gonna miss, so it's gonna get very, very close. Well, Hunter, before we let you get out here, buddy, anybody wants to send a shout out to for your 3rd place finish?
Yeah, just everybody over at the league, SRU, great people. Enjoy racing with all of them. It was a pretty fun race today, even though not a lot of action. It was still a pretty fun one, especially the finish. You know, all my teammates out there, Stemp, Dave, everybody else that helps me out outside of this league as well. You know, what else? Let's see. My family out there, everyone who's watching out there, love all y'all. You know, Freaky Fast putting on a great show. It'll be exciting to watch the finish from here. I know that's probably the only exciting thing you got to see today. It wasn't very exciting from being single file racing all day today, but like you said, you finally got to yell at the end, so it'll be fun to watch back. Also, for me to be able to commentate on Thursday nights and even other nights sometimes, so go check them out on Thursday nights. Stars and Stripe Xfinity League, great league, fun to commentate. So check us out Thursday nights at 9:20 Eastern. It's a fun one to call every single week with Sam Dyer as well, who's in here. So also, quick shout out to my sponsor, PlanBSales.com. Plan B Sales is one of the largest distributors of NASCAR diecast and other racing gear. Just go check them out. They got gear from NASCAR, IndyCar, dirt racing, drag racing, any type of racing that you enjoy. Go check them out. Make sure to use code HH48, HH as in Hunter Hayward 48 for $20. And not for $20 for free shipping on orders over $20. And yeah, check them out. It would help us all out, both of us out, and we'd greatly appreciate it. So go check them out and look for any gear that you're looking for that it's involving racing. And yeah.
Well, buddy, congrats on 3rd tonight. We'll catch you next time, and maybe I'll go try to get that $20.
That's the second time now, Zach. But
You have a good night, buddy.
Yeah, you have a good night too.
All right, that was Hunter Hayward. Everybody at the Toyota machine got to yank his chain a little bit and mess with the young fella. But now we're going to bring up our points leader, Mark Whitley. What a race it was for him. No laps led, but this man was able to get some great points here tonight to put him in a good position. Let's hear from him. Hey, Mark, it's Zach up in the booth. You got a copy, buddy?
Yep, got you loud and clear.
Well, buddy, a win last night, a second here tonight. You know, not the most exciting races here at Dega the past 2 nights in row for yourself, but I tell you what, you'll probably take that one, won't you?
Yeah, this was probably the one race out of the remaining ones that I was the most worried about. And I had a couple teammates in the race and another alliance I'd made, but they got kind of shuffled out there on the green flag pit stops, and I just was kind of trying to follow Dave and Hunter and all them because I knew they were going to be working pretty good together. So I was just trying to pretty much hang in with them, and it worked out pretty good. I got lucky a couple times getting on pit road. I was pushing the limit. I didn't really mean to get on there as hot as I did, but thankfully I wasn't speeding because it was pretty close. But it was just about kind of biding your time, just waiting because this draft package, especially with this car, I mean, it's even worse than it was with the current cars. You couldn't do anything, even if you had a couple cars in the outside lane. So it was really about just being patient and just waiting for the moment. And then worked out that it wound up being me, Stimp, and Hayward up there. With then I think it was Hartwell, the lap car, for that last little run. And I was just kind of waiting. And then we caught up to a couple other lap cars. We caught them so slow. I thought maybe if I jumped down there with them and maybe make it 3 on the bottom, I could maybe push them in front of the rest of them and stay in front. But didn't really work, and I wound up being at the back of the pack. And then the last couple laps there, I was just trying to see if I could get a run, and could never really do much of a run. I knew Hayward was probably going to be a sitting duck up there with his teammate. I don't know, last time we were here, I think Hayward wound up turning Stimpy in on the front straightaway on the last lap. So I kind of figured Stimp was going to try something to get around him, and I had to try to help him some way. And then when he finally made his move on the back straightaway, I just went up there with him, and then I pulled this crossover move from the top rope and just pulled it down low, got in front of Hayward, and was going to try to see if I could get to Stimp, but then it had Hartwell between me and him, and I really couldn't do anything. And you know what? Second place, I'll take it. I'm not a fan of these super speedway races, and they're such a crapshoot. This was probably the biggest hurdle left in the championship. Now it's just going to be about just getting solid finishes these last 2 races before the last race of the season, because I'll probably only be able to start and park that one. So right now we're just trying to get a good point buffer. And I think Yarrow, he was second in point. He kind of had a bad race, so I think we gained a good amount on him. So that was the main thing coming in here, was just trying to minimize point loss, and we wound up getting second. So that was even better than I was hoping. So I can't complain about it any much. It was just typical Talladega, just trying to survive pretty much.
Yeah, you tell you what, man, you hit the points there exactly. Just the points, you gained on Yarrow, and I think that was the big critical thing here tonight. So I think second, it's going to go very well in your back pocket, man. I mean, coming up next now, you got Kentucky and Homestead. You talked about Talladega was the one of those final 4 races that was like, oh, that's the one I need to make sure I do well in it to not lose points. Now Kentucky and Homestead, one of those two. Do you have any worries there, or do you feel like it's more straightforward at those tracks for yourself?
Well, if we were using the current car, I'd feel a lot better about it. But even so, this new next gen car, I'm not really sure how this car is at Homestead, but I know Kentucky, it can be kind of a little bit of a draft fest. I mean, any mile and a half really with this, it becomes that way. But I think turn 3 and 4 is flat enough where it should help a little bit. So it's going to be mainly just trying to get good runs and maybe try to win one of them and try to solidify that points lead. But I think it's going to be a less of a crapshoot, but they're still kind of mile and a half type track. So I think with this car, it's still going to be a little bit up in the air as long as we can stay out of trouble. But this one was definitely the one I needed to watch out for. At least the next 2 races here at Homestead and Kentucky, it's more of a driver's track, even if it's not purely driver's track like it would be with the current Cup car. There's more I can do as a driver to manipulate how I'm finished. Here, it's just kind of about getting lucky. So I think it's going to be interesting, kind of a little intense and stressful for me, but I'm just glad to get tonight over with, honestly.
Yeah, man, I tell you what, I know how you feel, buddy. It's a good feeling to get out here with a good finish, and tonight you're able to do that here at Talladega and solidify that points lead, man. So congrats on that tonight, Mark. Before we let you head out of here, buddy, and go celebrate that, anybody you want to send a shout to?
Just give a shout out to my family tuning in. I already got texts from all of them congratulating me on making it through the race in one piece. That was, like I said, that was the whole goal. And then got to give a shout out to y'all putting on a broadcast. I know that had to be boring, so it should be interesting to go see how y'all made that boring race into a somewhat watchable, hopefully. But and thanks to the fans tuning in every week. I know this is probably a snooze fest, and a few of you probably fell asleep taking a nap during it. But thanks for tuning in every week. It's always good to put on a show for you, even if it's a snooze fest of a show.
Hey, man, nonetheless, it was a show, and I tell you what, Mark, that movie made at the end, you definitely got me to yell, so that was a good one, man. So I appreciate that, buddy. So congrats on the second here tonight, man, the good points night, and we'll catch you next week at Kentucky, man, to see if you can grow that points lead some more.
All right, thanks, Zach. Yeah, I was trying my best to get the last. Almost turned them by accident. I barely cleared them, but it worked out. So I'll see y'all later.
All right, buddy. You have a great night. All right, everybody. That was Mark Whitley, your second place man, points leader also. So very good finish for him. But the hottest driver in the series, I'm taking that quote from Sam because that is facts right now. This man is just on a roll. Won 3 races in the last 5 races now. So pretty much just knocking it out the park at this point. 2 in a row at this point now. Let's hear from Steven Snippy. Hey, Steven, it's Zach up in the booth, man. You got a copy?
Yes, sir, I do.
Well, I tell you what, Steven, what a wild race to get yourself up there, man. Looking at your teammate Hunter Hayward, it was one of the most cut forward dry races for him possibly it ever could be. Just running up front. You did not have that, my friend. I tell you what, that first segment there before the first pit stops, kind of take us through that because you had to battle qualifying 10th there, fighting on the outside, trying to get everything you can, and even getting some damage.
Yeah, man, that was an interesting first half, first quarter of the race. Made a heck of a save when Buzz checked up and Hotwell got into me. My hands were full trying to save that thing. I did a heck of a job saving that, and then clipped Hotwell in the pits and came back from that. It was race of adversity, I'll tell you that much tonight.
It definitely was, buddy. You fought through the adversity, and now back-to-back wins, three wins now in the last 5, I believe it is. So, man, like you're the hottest driver in the series right now, man. How does that feel?
Oh man, it feels great to get back-to-back wins. Something I've been definitely trying to do, especially with Whitley and Hayward winning them all. Try to give them a run for their money. I wish I didn't miss that one race, but what can you do? Probably be a little bit tighter for points.
Yeah, that's definitely, the thing that we were talking about majority of the night is those points. Got drivers trying to gain on Mark Whitley here in the final few races due to him not being able to do the full Dover race. He's going to do a starting park there. That's going to give y'all a chance to gain a good bit of points there. These next 2 races, he said himself, the mile and a half, they can be crapshoots. You can really have a draft fest there, somewhat to what we see here at these plate tracks. Going into those 2 races, how do you feel? Because, man, you've performed so well at so many different tracks, and your team, especially at mile and a halves, the teamwork's been exceptional between Smoke Inc. Do you feel like you guys can go to Kentucky and Homestead and keep this roll going on, man? Because I'm telling you what, the 81 is on a train right now, and this thing ain't stopping.
Full steam ahead, baby. Yeah, we're gelling very well together. It took me all night to get with them tonight. But those mile and a halves, you've seen it at Charlotte and I forget what the other track was, but we've been pretty strong with the draft. Between me, Haywood, Bush, all 3 of us just staying up there, working together. Nobody really has anything for us. So it'll be interesting to see how the next couple of weeks play out. But the draft package is just so strong with these cars, except for here. But hopefully they work on that a little bit. I had to give you guys some entertainment at the end. I know he's my teammate, but had to go for the win, give you guys something to cheer about.
Well, I'll tell you what, man, it was fun to watch there. Then that gave us our yelling moment. I'll tell you that. Me and Sam were up here at the top of our youngs yelling as you guys were making those passes there coming down the end. So you got us to get up on our feet there at the end, man, and get that victory and that 81 machine. So congrats on that, Steven. I know it's been a whirlwind of a season, and then to come down here to the very last few portions of the season and really start to click on all cylinders, man, it's fun to watch you do that. So congrats on the win. Before we let you get out here, man, and go celebrate with your family, anybody wants to shout to?
Yeah, actually, real quick to the point, I don't know if you guys watched it at the beginning of the broadcast. I was kind of trying to see how the side draft was working, if you could pick off somebody by yourself, and I kind of lied back a little bit doing that, but I had Hotwell. Big thanks to Hotwell. Big shout out to him at the end there, helping me and going with me to get that win. And then obviously my beautiful fiance. Love you, baby. Thanks for watching my son while I do this. Go hang out with them, give her a break for the night. And obviously my father. Got to spend time today. We have action-packed day, fantasy draft. So just made it in time today. But, it feels good to get back-to-back wins. And hopefully continue it for the rest of the season and, work on next season.
Well, man, it's going to be fun to see how you close out these final 3 races. We've had a great time so far this season, Steven, and you're on a roll right now, man. Like you said, keep the train rolling, buddy, and we'll see what it can do at Kentucky next week.
Thanks, brother. Thanks for everything you guys do. Appreciate it as always.
And that was Steven Stippian, everybody, in the 81 machine, your race winner here tonight. What a job by him to pull it off here at Talladega. It's just a great job by him on the last moment to take that place from his teammate and pull off his second in a row victory. As we'll be looking to pull up our race results here as we see where your favorite drivers finished the night. Looks like Steven Stippian in that Smoke Inc. car going to bring home the victory, followed by Mark Whitley, our points leader. Third is going to go to Hunter Hayward. Fourth is going to be Stephen Leffler. Fifth position going to go to the rookie of Derek Love. Other rookie of Gino Marr there in the 6th position. Seventh is going to go to Todd Neese. Eighth is going to be Brandon Hartwell, the first car a lap down. Ninth is going to go to James Bryant. 10th is going to be Mike Chamberlain. 11th is going to go to Jim Coleman-Sperger. 12th is going to be Michael Yarrow, a tough night for him. 13th is going to be Kevin Roy. 14th is going to be Dave Bush after a late mistake in that race. 15th is going to be Keith Hurlbut. 16th, Robbie Darnell. 17th, Jason Adams. 18th, Clifton Ashley. 19th is going to be Paul Cohen. 20th is going to be Mark Koscheck. And 21st, Brad Delphin. Rounding out your field in the 22nd position is Dylan Zelms. As that is your race results here tonight from the Talladega Super Speedway. Sam, what a night of crazy, strategy. Pit road really was what played the big factor in this and getting on and off of there. Not something we normally see at plate tracks, but it's something we're getting a little bit more used to, I feel like, with this package.
Yeah, it felt a little bit like a train simulator at times, and who can get into the station the cleanest and get out the fastest. As drivers, we got to see who really was on top of their pit stops every single time, and it really was our top 3: Steven Stippian, Mark Whitley, and Hunter Hayward. They were always on top of their entries and exits, and what a comeback for Steven Stippian. Like we noted on that first, probably 1/3 of the race, felt like it was going to be a disaster with all the contact that he had, but kept on fighting through, had the adversity to continue to fight in this 81 team, getting the win after a late move. But Zach, we touched on points all night long. They were just updated from tonight's race. The points gap has now grown even more. Coming into this race, it was around 37 points was the difference between Mark Whitley and Michael Yarrow. It's now up to 47 points. So if Michael Yarrow wants to get any closer into the mix of trying to steal this championship away from the 77 team, he's got to hope that Mark Whitley has some off days, and Yarrow, he needs to get some wins.
Yeah, that is a sizable gap right there. I think that is actually max points you can get. 43 for just getting the first place, and then you got to add in the bonus points there. I think 47 is the max here at SRU. So that right there is, he's at a full race disadvantage and a perfect race at that. You got to lead the most laps in that race also to get that point. So Yarrow is in a tough spot now, but with 2 races, a mile and a half, Mark was the one to bring it up. Those 2 could be wild cards just due to how this car is. This next-gen car sets up for more, draft-style plate racing on these mile and a halves. We could see a switch up there, no fast repairs. Whether it gets caught up in a couple wrecks here in these next 2 weeks, it could go switch right back to the hands of Michael Yarrow or one of the other drivers. So we're going to have to stay attuned to that, because just that Whitley missing that race, it's really going to throw that curveball into this situation.
That it certainly will. And honestly, looking at the drivers, I remember coming in and being in the booth for Charlotte. That was a race where Mark Whitley got some damage and it hurt him. So we got 3 more races left of the season: Kentucky, Homestead, as well as Dover. You got to maximize your points in these final 3 races if you want to catch up to Mark Whitley. And still now tied, it's Mark Whitley and Hunter Hayward with 4 wins. And right behind him now, Steven Stippian, after tonight, 3 wins. He's right on the heels, trying to make sure that he could say that he's won the most this season.
Yeah, Steven Stippian, he's been on a roll, man. I can't wait to see what he does here in the final portion of these next 3 races. If he wouldn't have missed that race, like you said, it would have been very close. So what if is a big what if for a lot of, I think, of these drivers who missed the race. But I'm still excited to see how it's all going to shake out. Can Whitley go back-to-back? Because that'll be some type of story, man. Whitley definitely going to be looking to bring home 2 championships in a row. That's a feat that many drivers do not pull off.
No, not many at all, and certainly now excited for how the rest of the season's gonna go. And Zach, it's been a blast here tonight. Talladega, we weren't sure how it was gonna finish out, but it certainly was a dazzling last lap with Steven Stympian getting the win.
That it was, as we'll send it up to Robert Moore Jr. here to close out tonight's broadcast. What a fantastic one it was. Thank you all for tuning in.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. What great calling, man. Well, this is Talladega. Back-to-back nights here this weekend here at Talladega. I know I'm ready to pack my book bags and everything that I got and all my gear and get out of this place because it's been some action-packed racing. It was something else to see. I mean, we had great action Saturday night, great action here tonight. These guys noted on how the standings look. It's going to get interesting to see what happens in the next 3 weeks. Can Steven Stympian just keep this rolling going? Can Mark Whitley fight off some other drivers and keep and get back-to-back championships? Stay tuned to find out, in the next 3 weeks on how this all plays out here on Sunday night with Sim Racing Unleashed. And the best way to do that, ladies and gentlemen, if this is the first time you're here, hit that subscribe button on YouTube. And every time we go live, you don't miss any of the action all week. And speaking of the action of the week, our next televised broadcast will be Wednesday night. It's a little bit of a difference going to be happening here. Starting here from now on until 2022 season. There will be no broadcasting here on Tuesday nights. If you're watching and you wonder where we're all on Tuesday nights, well, we are off. But our next one will be with the Underdog Racing League at Richmond with the Xfinity cars. And then we got the Stars and Stripes. And then we are back to round out Saturday nights. Final race at Homestead, which we got our, top 4 drivers for that. And now that's going to be some action-packed next weekend to end over there with the NISCC Cup Series. So make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And we'll catch you on the next stream. But until then, everybody have a great week, and we'll catch you on the next one. Until then, God bless everybody. We love you all. Peace out.
Bye, everybody.